Hi there, YouTube. How are ya? Out on a little sunset ride. I'm heading up to a little area here called Rondout Reservoir. I want to see if I can get a little flight in for you guys. I do kind of wish I left a little... Wait, is this it? Oh wait, yeah, shoot, that was a turn. Damn it. I'm not gonna make a tight turn here. I'll go down here a little bit, make it... I gotta just turn around, just give me a second there. Alright guys, so we are... I was supposed to make this left here, but for some reason I was like, oh, it looks like a driveway, but then I'm like, oh no, it's not a driveway, it's an actual street. So yeah, not much time. Sunset's at 8:40 and I'm running at about 8:20ish or so, and I just want to get some of these colors. Hopefully I can show you some of these colors. Hopefully they come out pretty good. But before that, let's do the vlog. And today I wanted to talk to you about some disturbing events that has been going on lately in the news. And okay, so I've been wanting to talk to you about some disturbing events that has been going on lately in the news. Mainly surrounding the recent issue of police brutality. And before I even start this, you know, I'm a huge law enforcement supporter. I'm huge in supporting the Second Amendment and the right to carry. I'm not a huge gun guy. I will not by any chance pass myself off to be a huge gun guy. You know, I do believe that store owners that own stores and want to protect themselves should be able to protect themselves and not have to wait for the presence of police, but still notify police. Anyway, so in the news, you know, it came over where in Minnesota, George Floyd was being detained, being arrested on whatever charges that they were, and whatever the case was meant for him to have to see a judge. And so he was being detained, and I guess he has some emotional issues that maybe, you know, makes him a little agitated or whatever the case may be. But besides that, so he was being detained and they were holding him down, and one of the officers, okay, one of the officers uses his knee on his neck to keep him from basically being able to flail or move around for over, what, 7 to 8 minutes? I believe they say the total video was 9 minutes. And he eventually loses consciousness, and then you see EMS come, they pick him up, they put him on their gurney, and when they pick him up, you can just see there was no life left. That was it. And you know, I just felt that was extremely disturbing. Extremely disturbing. Just didn't agree with it. I didn't think it was right. I didn't think any human being should deserve to be treated that way. I believe that if you need to subdue someone and you have to subdue someone, why not use the arms or, you know, any other means, holding down by the maybe by the back, something. But you know, this is the second time that we see someone of color, African American descent, not the second time, but you know, with this whole sort of asphyxiation method. You know, the other time was Eric Gardner with chokehold, which they said wasn't a chokehold, but I don't know, man. Looked like a chokehold to me. But whatever. You know, I just think it just doesn't take that much to care. Like, how much does it take for a person to care? You know, when people are saying, hey, he's bleeding from the nose, hey, he's losing consciousness, you know, those are things that when someone says that to you, why not care a little bit and say, hey, let me check on this guy and make sure he's all right. Let me check on this guy and see if he did lose consciousness. You know, let me just check and make sure he's all right. Let me care a little bit. At least act like you care. It's like if someone gets shot, you're EMS, you show up, you don't just stand over. Well, oh, yep, looks like somebody got shot to me. You know, they come, they got their medical things, they have their the clotting cloths, they start sticking those in the bullet wounds, they start locating where they are, they cut the clothes off, you know, they want to start giving oxygen, there's the CPR, they, you know, the trauma shocks, whatever it is they need to do, they proceed and begin to do it. And it just seemed readily apparent from the video that no one cared. And it just was, I mean, and you know what, this is something where everyone is for once kind of on the same page about, where everyone is just outraged. Now whether or not it was racially motivated, I don't know, that really hasn't come out yet, but I can tell you lack of care was one of the definite motives, that I could say. The lack of the ability of a person to care and feel for another person. Now the other thing that's really been a real bug for me is seeing people that are looting, but they are calling themselves protesters. They're looting, they're causing damage, they're throwing rocks, they're throwing bottles. I mean, and these people are the ones that are chanting that they're protesters. And I just don't see it that way. I don't see people who protest as people who will do things like that to cause harm, throw knives, throw bottles, you know, just crazy things like that. And I just don't see it. I don't believe it. I don't believe in that. You know, people are looting these stores that are in, well, supposedly their neighborhoods, because maybe they're not from the neighborhood. They could be from somewhere else, but they're coming over here and they're looting these stores. And they're just breaking the glasses, they're going in, they're stealing all of these products. I mean, yeah, a lot of these places have, you know, okay, a lot of these places, they have insurance. Okay, fine, you know, but you know what, it still boils down to a lot of these places that may have this insurance, they're the ones that have to pay it. They're the ones that have to figure out, okay, well, if my insurance rates go up, then that means that the prices of all of these things that you people in the neighborhood like and want are going to go up. Why? Because they've been screwed over. Looters then broke in and stole everything, broke all the glass, damaged all the doors. They can't afford to fix it. They got to make an insurance claim. Now insurance claims go up. They got to raise the prices, so people in the neighborhood have to pay higher prices. And just, you know what? I just don't see that as protesting. Never have, never will. You know, never have, never will. Never have, never will. You know, setting buildings and places on fire, that's not protesting. That's just vandalism. You know, but if you're out there and you're trying to make a difference, letting people know how you feel and holding signs up and things like that, okay, yeah, that's protesting. Yeah, some people may not feel it may get the results that they want, but it also kind of makes you wonder, how is it that they want to get these results? And some people just like to use that kind of force, but even still, that kind of force is just not, you know, you're making the people in the neighborhood suffer. And I just don't see how that can be right. You know, I've been trying to understand and see how they can rationalize. Just, I mean, look at the news. Yesterday, Fordham Road. Go on YouTube, type in Fordham Road looting, and you'll see the videos. There's just no way. It just doesn't make sense, you know. But these are what we call human beings, and they believe. I don't think their reasoning has anything to do with Mr. George. I just don't think so. With Mr. George Floyd, I don't think so. I think it's their own personal. Because if you're looting the store and you're breaking in to steal sneakers, you don't care about people of color or any other origin having equal rights. You don't care about that. The only thing you care about is you breaking in, getting some new sneakers, maybe even getting you what the heck is it, some new jeans and clothes and stuff like that, you know. So I don't know, man. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, you want to throw rocks and you want to throw bottles, and where's the change gonna come from that? I'd like someone to tell me where they think change is gonna come from that, because I don't see anything coming from that. No sort of change whatsoever. So I wish them luck with that, but I don't see it happening. Anyway, guys, we've reached our little flight destination where we can actually go and do a little flight. So we're gonna park here. Alrighty. I missed the sunset colors. That sucks. But I think I can actually get a little flight for you guys. So let's get set up. Let's get that drone in the air real quick. And yeah. Alright, guys. See you in a little bit. So hello guys, alright, we are going to fly at Rondout Reservoir. I just have to do a few things. We're gonna get the camera set up, the quad set up. It's looking for GPS, so while it's doing that, I'm gonna increase my flight altitude, my auto return to home. I want to increase that to about 200 feet, mainly because these trees are pretty tall, probably about 100 to 150 feet. We're going to increase our max altitude to, we're going to go to 400. And that's because we're not in any sort of a flight path. We're not near anything. Just checking over a few other things.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
And then we're going to get our flight on. I'm going to do a calibration real quick of the what is it, the GMU, I think. I'm just gonna do a calibration real quick. I actually thought that it was recording my audio there, but it turns out that it wasn't recording audio when I was doing the screen recording. It doesn't record the audio, so yeah, that I'll have to keep in mind for next time. So we're gonna take off in a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna end up, I took off, but then I forgot I didn't put the little sticks into the remote, so I had to go back and do that. But let's fast forward to the flight. Okay, so we are ready for takeoff, and we're gonna take off just pretty much right above that small tree that is right at the center of the screen.
Takeoff. The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Check the map just to see where you are with the home point. I'm gonna move off a little bit over to the left due to just the positioning of the trees there.
Okay, so now we are over the reservoir. We're going to fly out towards the middle. Right now we're in sport mode, but I'm not pushing on the stick very much. Soon I'll switch over to C mode, which is cinematic mode, which kind of makes everything a little bit smoother. We're going to gain some altitude here. We're up to 119 feet, as you can see, and traveling at 3.3 miles per hour. So a little bit about this area. This is Round Out Reservoir. I believe that's how I would pronounce it, or it should be pronounced. And now this area was constructed from 1937 and ended in 1954. So it was actually a few years after the World War II era. They actually commissioned 3 cities, 3 small towns, actually you would call it, not cities, but 3 small towns here to create this, which was just kind of amazing. The max length of this from end to end is 6.5 miles, and surface acreage is 2,052 acres. If you can just imagine that, 2,052 acres. Now I see, I'm looking at the specs on here online, and they're saying the average depth is 73.8, but then I'm seeing also that the max depth, I guess that someone has noticed, was 175 feet depth. So there's actually another road over there on that side, on the opposite side to our left of our screen, and that, if I'm not mistaken, is 55, I believe, because it splits off, and the right side is, if I remember right, 55A, and then over there is 55. So you can ride either side. Both sides is actually a very nice ride, I would say. And this water here that they have here, it feeds most of New York City. Only reason why I say most is because you have a few other reservoirs in the area. You have the Ashoshankin Reservoir. There's the Neversink, the Pepacton also, and there's a couple others in the area. I'm gonna make some adjustments to the exposure here. I'm not using manual exposure just because of you can see the light in here. It's not very harsh. Just gonna up the exposure just a little bit here, but you can see it's just such a beautiful area, and it's just even more so via flying. I've done videos riding through here, but flying, I think, is just such a different perspective. And I'm actually just gonna fly over this way just to get a little view from this side, and then look back at the reservoir itself. But then I started to lose signal. But yeah, it's just a really beautiful area, and as you can see, it just travels all the way down far down that way. So this reservoir also, not in addition to rainwater, it also gets water filtered in through canals, which they go from Cannonsville, Neversink, and Pepacton reservoirs. So those reservoirs end up sending water down into here for storage. So they have a few other reservoirs which add to this one, and you can fish in this reservoir if you please. They do allow you to. You just have to get the permit from the Department of Environmental Protection so that you can fish there. They were saying, I was reading that you can't actually remove the boats from here. So I don't know if you'd have to rent one of the boats or if they just allow you to use one of the rowboats that are located down on the bottom, and you'll see those a little later in the flight. Now we switched over to cinematic mode, which will kind of slow things down a little bit, which when you're flying over water, I think if you're flying at 10 miles an hour or so, you really don't notice it too much. Wind was actually pretty calm.
Maximum flight altitude reached.
Kind of helped with me being able to get up to about 400 and just kind of take in a little bit more of this view. Maybe even getting to about 600 would have been nice too. Not too bad, but I think the 400 is good enough for me, you know, especially with the Mini, and it's, you know, you don't really know what the wind speeds may be like up there. But anyhow, so that's just a little bit of information about this area, and hope you enjoy the flight and a little bit of the information about this reservoir. So you can just imagine such a huge body of water that feeds water down to the whole city, which of course they do charge you for down there. Yeah, you get charged for the water that you use, the water that comes from here, rainwater. So yeah, you got to pay for that. But yeah, so light is diminishing very quickly at this point, and soon I'll actually be bringing the quadcopter back in, because as you lose the light, it's kind of hard to really see where you were coming from unless I were to start the motorcycle. So I have the headlights as a guide, because then everything kind of will just look the same. Okay, so we are making our way back in, and here you can see the rowboats that I was telling you about, that I'm not sure if people rent them or if they're just left there. So if you have the fishing permit, you can just use them. I don't know, not really sure how that works. I'll adjust the gimbal down a little bit. As you can see, it's getting darker, losing light, and I don't want to be out there flying and can't see where the heck it is I'm going. So I'm heading back in, and just wanted to give you a little bit of a better view of them. As you can see, a couple boats sitting there. They're off to the side. You just grab them, throw them in, but again, not sure how that works. Yeah, so we're heading in for the landing. As you can see where I am there. And again, I do thank you guys for taking the time to watch. Thank you guys for viewing, and you be safe out there. Be safe on the roads, and let's pray for better times.